While the Antichrist has not yet manifested on earth, his spirit is actively present and at work today. This undeniable biblical truth is emphasized in 1 John chapter 2 verse 18, which signals the last days. In this sermon, the focus shifts to the climate of the world during the Great Tribulation as described in the book of Revelation. Understanding this context enables a better grasp of the trajectory of our current world. Revelation chapter 14 unveils a pivotal moment during the Great Tribulation when the Antichrist has ascended to power, fostering deception and tyranny alongside the false prophet. Together, they establish a world order demanding allegiance and embodying rebellion against the Creator. In this dark hour, God intervenes uniquely by dispatching 3 angels with crucial messages, as revealed in Revelation chapter 14 verse 6-13. These angels, unlike ordinary messengers, bear special significance in delivering messages from God to earth. The first angel proclaims the everlasting gospel, urging all people to fear and worship God. This emphasis on fearing God forms the core of the sermon's message. Despite the prevalent lack of this fear in today's world, the Bible consistently underscores its importance, portraying it as the beginning of wisdom. The sermon delves into the decline of the fear of the Lord in contemporary society, noting a departure from the reverence seen in previous generations. A poignant illustration contrasts a time when even criminals respected churches to today's era of diminishing respect for religious symbols. The speaker attributes this decline to a lack of understanding of who God truly is. God's otherness and incomprehensibility should evoke a holy reverence, keeping humanity from attempting to reduce God to human terms. The core message of the sermon addresses the urgent need to revive the fear of God, especially in the face of the Antichrist's subtle efforts to erode this foundational biblical principle. The Antichrist strategically undermines the awe and reverence for God by promoting ideologies contrary to God's word, redirecting the focus from divine accountability to self-centered living. This erosion has profound implications, normalizing sin and unchecked rebellion against God. The speaker emphasizes the critical role of the fear of God, citing Proverbs chapter 16 verse 6, which connects it to wisdom and a departure from evil. The lack of this fear contributes to the normalization of sin in today's culture, aligning with the Antichrist's agenda. The sermon concludes with Philippians chapter 2 verse 12, urging believers to work out their salvation with fear and trembling, highlighting the significance of trembling as a deep sense of reverence and seriousness in one's spiritual journey. In a world influenced by the Antichrist, maintaining this posture becomes crucial to counteract complacency and rebellion, ensuring a sincere acknowledgement of God's majesty and holiness. In a world where the spirit of the Antichrist is actively working to erode the fear of God, the concept of trembling becomes even more critical. This trembling is not a fear of terror but a profound respect and recognition of our accountability before a holy God. It serves as a counteraction to the complacency and rebellion encouraged by the Antichrist. The lack of fear of the Lord is evident in the prevalence of various societal issues, including adultery, sexual immorality, love of pleasure, greed, materialism, addiction to immoral content, and dishonesty. In the face of the Antichrist's efforts to diminish the fear of God, the call to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling is a clarion call to maintain humility and respect towards God. This involves recognizing His sovereignty and our dependence on His grace. The fear of the Lord acts as a deterrent from evil, as stated in Matthew chapter 10 verse 28, reminding believers that it is God who has the power to destroy both soul and body in hell. The fear of the Lord is not just a historical or cultural sentiment. It is a timeless principle that remains crucial in navigating the challenges of the present age. The erosion of the fear of God has profound implications, creating a spiritual vacuum where sin is normalized, and rebellion against God goes unchecked. This aligns with the Antichrist's agenda to solidify his deceptive rule by exploiting the diminished reverence for God. As believers, it is imperative to resist the subtle influences of the Antichrist spirit by rekindling and nurturing the fear of the Lord. This involves a deep understanding of the holiness and justice of God, integral aspects of His character alongside His love and mercy. The stories of Ananias and Sapphira, as well as the teachings in Isaiah, serve as stark reminders of the immediacy and severity of God's judgment against sin. In a world where the Antichrist seeks to shift the focus from divine accountability to humanistic and self-centered living, believers are called to stand firm in their reverence for God. This involves acknowledging the majesty and holiness of God, fostering a profound respect that transcends cultural shifts and societal norms. The call to fear God is not a call to live in perpetual terror but an invitation to live in awe of the Almighty, recognizing His sovereignty and our dependence on His guidance and grace. In trembling before God, believers position themselves against the tide of a world increasingly devoid of the fear of the Lord. As we navigate the complexities of the end times, the revival of the fear of God becomes a beacon of light in the darkness, a counterforce against the deceptive currents of the Antichrist spirit. It is a call to return to the foundational principles that have guided believers throughout history, emphasizing the fear of the Lord as the beginning of wisdom and the pathway to a life that honors and glorifies God. In the midst of a world that is drifting away from the fear of the Lord, believers are challenged to be a countercultural force. The lack of this fear is not merely a symptom of changing times but a deliberate strategy employed by the spirit of the Antichrist. In the face of these challenges, the timeless wisdom of Scriptures echoes, emphasizing the enduring importance of the fear of God. The fear of the Lord is not a restrictive or burdensome concept. Rather, it is a safeguard against the moral and spiritual erosion that the Antichrist seeks to perpetuate. It is a call to uphold the standards of righteousness and holiness in the midst of a culture that increasingly celebrates values contrary to God's Word. Believers are urged to draw strength from passages like Proverbs chapter 16 verse 6, recognizing that the fear of the Lord is intrinsically linked to wisdom and a departure from evil. It is a call to resist the normalization of sin in society, understanding that a lack of reverence for God creates a spiritual void where the consequences of sin are downplayed and ignored. The call to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling in Philippians chapter 2 verse 12 is not a call to legalism but a plea for a sincere and earnest pursuit of holiness. This trembling is an acknowledgement of the majesty of God and a recognition that salvation is not to be taken lightly. It is an invitation to live in a manner that reflects a deep respect for God's character and His redemptive work in our lives.